In a significant development on May 28, 2025, the U.S. Department of State announced a new visa restriction policy aimed at foreign nationals who allegedly engage in censoring American citizens on social media platforms. This move underscores mounting tensions surrounding free speech and digital governance in an increasingly interconnected world as the U.S. seeks to exert its influence over how social media is utilized globally. The new policy, which is part of a broader initiative to combat perceived censorship, particularly targets government officials and other agents from countries where censorship is rampant. Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized the necessity of the measure, stating that we must protect the voices of Americans from foreign interference in censorship. The announcement comes amid escalating concerns about the role of social media in shaping public discourse, particularly as authoritarian regimes employ various tactics to suppress dissenting opinions online. While the State Department has not disclosed the specific countries or individuals that will be affected by this policy, it is clear that the U.S. is taking a firmer stance against foreign entities that infringe upon the free speech rights of its citizens. The implications of this policy could be far-reaching, potentially leading to strained diplomatic relations with nations that are already at odds with U.S. policies. Critics of the measure argue that it may lead to retaliatory actions from targeted countries, further complicating the global landscape of digital communication. The announcement coincides with a troubling report regarding the impact of U.S. foreign aid cuts on global health. In a separate but related story, Mariam Muhammad, a widow from Nigeria, shared a heart-wrenching account of her son's death attributed to the disruption of U.S. aid. Her son Babagana, who suffered from sickle cell disease, died after a critical medical facility funded by USAID was forced to close due to a stop-work order issued by the previous administration. This tragic case has drawn attention to the human costs of foreign aid cuts, with estimates suggesting that tens of thousands of lives may have been lost as a result of these funding reductions. At a congressional hearing, Secretary Rubio asserted that no one has died because of USAID cuts, a statement that has been met with skepticism by health experts and lawmakers alike. Studies estimating the death toll from these cuts have projected that over 200,000 children and 96,000 adults may have already perished due to the cessation of essential health services. Critics, including Congressman Brad Sherman and Senator Jeff Merkley, have pointed to individual stories that highlight the stark reality of these policy decisions, contrasting Rubio's claims with the lived experiences of families affected by the loss of critical healthcare support. As the U.S. grapples with the consequences of its foreign aid policies and the implications of its new visa restrictions, the international community watches closely. The intersection of digital rights and global health underscores a pressing need for the U.S. to balance its foreign policy objectives with the humanitarian impacts of its actions. Looking ahead, the effectiveness of the visa restriction policy and the ongoing fallout from aid cuts will likely shape the discourse around American global leadership in both technology and human rights. In a significant shift within the Department of Defense, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has implemented new restrictions on the hiring of IT consultants and management services. This directive, outlined in a memo distributed to Pentagon leadership and other key figures, aims to streamline operations and enhance cost efficiency in line with the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency (DOGE) initiatives. This approach reflects an ongoing effort to reduce reliance on external consulting firms and bring more expertise in-house, a strategy Hegseth believes is critical for optimizing the Defense Department's operational capabilities. In his memo, Hegseth emphasized the need to leverage the existing talent within the Defense Department, stating, "While we rely on our vital industrial base to deliver cutting-edge technology and support, we must insource more expertise and harness the unparalleled talent of our existing experts." He clarified that moving forward, any new contracts for IT consulting or management services must be justified on the grounds that the work cannot be performed by existing DoD personnel or acquired directly from service providers. This level of scrutiny is intended to ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent judiciously and that the department is not unnecessarily outsourcing critical tasks. The directive also introduces a requirement for approval from Deputy Secretary of Defense Stephen Feinberg or his designee before any new contracts can be executed. The approval process will consider a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis and an evaluation of alternatives, reinforcing the department's commitment to financial accountability. Notably, contracts supporting defense weapon systems and those valued under $10 million are exempt from these stringent requirements, reflecting a recognition of the complexities involved in military operations. Moreover, Hegseth's directive extends to advisory and assistance services, which encompass a variety of roles from strategic planning to operational support. By tightening the reins on these contracts, the department aims to maximize the use of its workforce for essential functions, particularly in IT, where a mix of contractors and DoD employees has been prevalent. This latest initiative is part of a broader trend under Hegseth's leadership to curb Pentagon spending on IT services. Just last month, he ordered the termination of several contracts and requested the Pentagon's Chief Information Officer to formulate plans for insourcing more IT functions. These actions are likely to have a profound impact on the Defense Department's contracting landscape as it seeks to balance operational efficiency with the demands of a rapidly evolving technological environment. As the Defense Department navigates these changes, the implications for its relationship with the private sector will be closely watched. The emphasis on insourcing may lead to tensions with established consulting firms that have long provided IT services, potentially resulting in a reshaping of the defense contracting ecosystem. Looking ahead, how these reforms play out remains to be seen, especially as the Pentagon continues to adapt to new technological challenges and geopolitical pressures. Hegseth's directives signal a renewed focus on internal capabilities, but they will need to be complemented by a strategic vision that ensures the U.S. military maintains its technological edge in a competitive global landscape. As the defense sector evolves, the effectiveness of these changes will be critical in determining the future trajectory of U.S. military operations and its partnerships within the technology industry. In a bold and controversial move, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has proposed banning federal scientists from publishing in prestigious medical journals, which he has labeled as corrupt and under the influence of pharmaceutical companies. During an appearance on the Ultimate Human podcast, Kennedy stated, "We're probably going to stop publishing in the Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, and those other journals because they're all corrupt." He further expressed intentions to create alternative government-run publications that would serve as the new standard for scientific research. Kennedy's remarks come at a time of increasing scrutiny of the pharmaceutical industry and its relationship with medical research. The Lancet and JAMA, both established in the 19th century, along with the New England Journal of Medicine, are regarded as the leading voices in medical research, collectively garnering millions of visits each year. Kennedy's assertion that these journals are compromised aligns with his broader criticisms of various health agencies, which he claims are mere sock puppets for pharmaceutical interests. Adam Gaffney, a public health researcher at Harvard Medical School, expressed concern over Kennedy's proposal, stating banning NIH-funded researchers from publishing in leading medical journals would delegitimize taxpayer-funded research. This sentiment reflects fears that such a move could undermine the integrity of scientific discourse and push researchers to publish in less reputable outlets. The backdrop to Kennedy's comments includes significant cuts to the National Institutes of Health (NIH) budget exceeding $3 billion since the previous year, and a notable staff purge within the Department of Health and Human Services, which has led to speculation among scientists about relocating overseas in search of a more supportive research environment. Countries such as France, Germany, and China are reportedly seeking to attract American researchers disillusioned by current U.S. policies. Kennedy's stance also coincides with a recent White House report that challenges the prevailing medical consensus on vaccinations, suggesting that an over-reliance on medications could be exacerbating chronic diseases in children. This report has sparked further debate about the influence of pharmaceutical companies on public health recommendations. In his podcast appearance, Kennedy cited past concerns raised by journal editors about pharmaceutical influence, including a notable warning from Marcia Angel, former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, who claimed in 2009 that the integrity of clinical research had been compromised due to financial ties with the industry. However, this framing raises questions about the balance of scientific opinion, as Kennedy's approach appears to advocate for a singular narrative that aligns with his views on health and medicine. The reactions to Kennedy's comments have been mixed, with some supporting his call for transparency and accountability in medical research, while others fear it could lead to a chilling effect on scientific freedom. For instance, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, although aligned with Kennedy on certain issues, has expressed support for academic freedom, indicating a potential rift within the HHS regarding the future of research publication. As Kennedy's proposals develop, the implications for scientific integrity, funding, and public health policy will be closely scrutinized. The creation of government-sponsored journals could reshape the landscape of medical research, but it remains to be seen whether this initiative will foster a more open discourse or stifle dissenting voices in the scientific community. Looking ahead, the ongoing dialogue surrounding the integrity of medical research and the relationship between government, science, and industry will likely intensify. As the U.S. navigates these contentious waters, the actions taken by Kennedy and his administration may set significant precedents for future health policy and research practices. In a striking intersection of cultural commentary and contemporary politics, a recent satirical piece titled "I Am Pam Bondi's Shiny Gold Cross Necklace" has captured the attention of readers. This imaginative monologue, penned by Gary M. Almeida and featured on McSweeney's Internet Tendency, offers an audacious perspective on the symbolism of fashion within the realm of politics, particularly as it pertains to Pam Bondi, a prominent figure in the Trump administration and former Florida Attorney General. Almeida's piece personifies Bondi's gold cross necklace, presenting it as a character in its own right, part holy relic, part fashion statement. The necklace is described as being forged of divine gold sourced from the sacred hills of Medjugorje, humorously juxtaposing its luxurious appearance with the more sordid undertones of its acquisition from a jewelry store allegedly linked to Medicare fraud. This blend of reverence and irreverence serves to critique the superficiality often associated with political branding. I hang heavily and blessedly where divinity schmoozes décolletage on the clavicular altar of Florida's own evangelical Barbie, the necklace declares, illustrating the complex entanglement of faith, femininity, and political power. The piece not only lampoons Bondi's public persona but also reflects broader societal themes, including the commodification of religious symbols and the theatricality of political life. As the satire unfolds, it highlights Bondi's interactions with various political figures, claiming that the necklace has witnessed moments of political intimacy, from awkward hugs with Ron DeSantis to onstage moments with other notable Republicans. This portrayal underscores the absurdity of political culture, where image often overshadows substance. Meanwhile, in a more serious vein, the Justice Department, now under the scrutiny of Pam Bondi, is embroiled in a significant investigation concerning California's laws on transgender athletes. The inquiry, triggered by President Trump's threats to revoke federal funding, seeks to determine whether California's School Success and Opportunity Act, which allows trans athletes to compete in accordance with their gender identity, conflicts with Title IX. This legal scrutiny reflects ongoing tensions in the national discourse surrounding gender in sports, as well as the broader implications for civil rights. The Justice Department's actions, including the filing of a statement of interest in a related federal lawsuit, indicate a national effort to address what the administration frames as an infringement on women's athletic opportunities. Statements from officials such as Harmeet Dillon assert a commitment to defending women's rights within educational sports frameworks. This investigation exemplifies the current administration's strategy to leverage legal avenues in pursuit of its policy goals while navigating the contentious landscape of gender identity politics. In a surreal blend of satire and reality, the juxtaposition of Almeida's whimsical monologue with the gravity of the Justice Department's investigation paints a vivid picture of today's political climate. It serves as a reminder of the multifaceted nature of public life, where the gleam of a golden necklace can simultaneously represent both the superficiality of political image and the serious undertones of ongoing social conflicts. As these narratives unfold, the implications for future political discourse remain profound. The intersection of fashion, faith, and politics continues to evolve, prompting observers to consider how personal style reflects and perhaps distorts deeper societal values. As the investigation into California's trans-athlete policies progresses, it will undoubtedly influence the ongoing dialogue around gender identity and equality in sports, ensuring that these discussions remain at the forefront of American political life. In the ever-shifting landscape of international trade, President Donald Trump's tariff policies have become a focal point of both economic debate and market volatility. As nations scramble to negotiate better terms, recent developments highlight a turbulent week in U.S. trade relations, particularly with India and the European Union, amidst Trump's controversial rhetoric regarding Wall Street's perception of his tariff strategies. On Wednesday, President Trump criticized what he termed the taco trade, an acronym for Trump Always Chickens Out, which reflects Wall Street's growing skepticism about the president's commitment to his aggressive tariff policies. This term, first popularized by the Financial Times, encapsulates the pattern of Trump imposing high tariffs that send markets tumbling, only to retract or delay these measures shortly thereafter. Responding to a reporter's inquiry about the term, Trump dismissed it as nasty, asserting that his approach is merely a negotiation tactic intended to strengthen the U.S. position in trade talks. "It's called negotiation," he stated, emphasizing that his strategies have garnered leverage in discussions with trading partners. Indeed, negotiations are in full swing as India has proposed significant tariff reductions on various imports in exchange for the U.S. maintaining higher duties on certain agricultural commodities. This proposal reflects a broader trend among U.S. trading partners eager to mitigate the impact of Trump's tariff regime. European Commission Trade Chief Maros Sefcovic confirmed ongoing discussions between the EU and the US aimed at fostering cooperation in critical sectors such as semiconductors and aerospace while navigating the looming threat of Trump's newly announced tariffs. Despite Trump's insistence on the effectiveness of his tariff policies, concerns about their real economic implications continue to surface. Retail giants like Macy's and Capri have recently lowered their profit and revenue forecasts, directly citing the impact of tariffs on consumer behavior and market dynamics. AutoZone's executives echoed similar sentiments, warning that while the immediate effects of tariffs might not be fully realized, they anticipate inflationary pressures to escalate if these tariffs remain in place. Meanwhile, the automotive industry is also feeling the heat, with major German manufacturers such as BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen reportedly negotiating with the U.S. Department of Commerce for tariff relief in exchange for substantial investments in American production facilities. This reflects a growing trend where companies are willing to negotiate terms that could offset the financial burden of tariffs while simultaneously aligning with Trump's push for domestic manufacturing. On the tech front, Apple has found itself at the center of Trump's tariff threats, with the president warning that the company could face a 25% tariff on iPhones unless production is shifted back to the U.S. This ultimatum underscores the precarious position of American corporations navigating the complexities of global supply chains while attempting to appease a volatile administration. Trump's comments have already impacted Apple's stock, which saw a significant drop following his announcement. As discussions unfold, the economic landscape remains fraught with uncertainty. With tariffs already generating over $22 billion in revenue for the U.S. in May alone, the stakes are high. Trump's fluctuating stance on tariffs and trade agreements raises questions about the long-term implications for U.S. businesses and the economy as a whole. As the deadline for new tariffs looms, both the U.S. and its trading partners are left to grapple with the consequences of an unpredictable trade policy landscape. Looking ahead, the potential for negotiations to yield more stable and favorable trade conditions remains. As nations work to finalize agreements and navigate tariff-related challenges, the economic ramifications of Trump's policies will continue to shape market sentiment and international relations in the coming months. Stakeholders will be closely watching how these developments unfold, particularly as the July 9 deadline approaches for the EU tariffs and companies like Apple attempt to recalibrate their strategies amidst ongoing threats of punitive tariffs. In a politically charged Memorial Day address at Arlington National Cemetery, President Donald Trump emphasized the sacrifices made by military veterans while simultaneously using the opportunity to tout his accomplishments and criticize his political opponents. Speaking before an audience that included Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, both military veterans, Trump engaged in a delicate balancing act of honoring the fallen while framing his own administration's achievements. Trump began his remarks by acknowledging the valor of those who served in the nation's military, stating, "We certainly know what we owe to them. Their valor gave us the freest, greatest, and most noble republic ever to exist on the face of the earth, a republic that I am fixing after a long and hard 4 years." This statement served as a direct nod to his ongoing narrative of restoring the nation during his second term. In a notable shift from the somber nature typically associated with Memorial Day, Trump also took time to highlight his administration's plans for significant events such as hosting the Summer Olympics and the FIFA World Cup. He expressed a sense of divine timing, exclaiming, "Can you imagine? I missed that 4 years. And now look what I have. I have everything. Amazing the way things work out." Such rhetoric drew criticism as it appeared to overshadow the day's intent of mourning and remembrance. Moreover, Trump's address included a pointed critique of former President Joe Biden's border policies, linking them to broader discussions about national security and military strength. He insisted that the U.S. was performing remarkably well under his leadership, promising that the country would achieve unprecedented success moving forward. "We're doing so very well right now considering the circumstances," he stated, a remark that many interpreted as an attempt to bolster his political standing ahead of upcoming elections. In tandem with his Memorial Day speech, Trump made headlines with a controversial proposal regarding Harvard University, suggesting that he might redirect $3 billion in grants earmarked for the institution to vocational schools instead. This announcement, which Trump shared on social media, did not indicate new funding cuts but rather a redistribution of previously frozen funds. His statements were perceived as part of an ongoing campaign against elite educational institutions, which he has accused of fostering anti-American sentiments. The administration's stance toward trade also emerged prominently as European Union Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic confirmed high-level discussions aimed at negotiating a new trade deal with the U.S. Following Trump's decision to delay imposing 50% tariffs on European imports, there was a cautious optimism from both sides. Sefcovic tweeted about the constructive nature of their discussions, emphasizing a commitment to reaching an agreement that would benefit both economies. Trump's administration has been characterized by a series of trade-related maneuvers, with Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick recently claiming that the tariffs imposed by Trump have successfully brought China to the negotiating table and even helped avert conflict between India and Pakistan. Lutnick argued that these tariffs serve as essential tools for U.S. foreign policy, underscoring their role in addressing international disputes. Looking ahead, the political landscape remains fraught with potential shifts as Trump continues to push his legislative agenda through a fractious Congress. The upcoming military parade scheduled for June 14, which coincides with both the Army's 250th anniversary and Trump's birthday, promises to be another platform for the president to showcase his vision of American strength and patriotism. As the administration navigates these multifaceted issues, the interplay between national pride and political strategy will remain crucial. The outcomes of ongoing negotiations with the EU, the contentious relationship with Harvard, and the broader implications of Trump's tariff policies will significantly shape both domestic and international perceptions of his presidency as the 2026 elections approach.